Hello. Hello, everybody. Hey, Adam. Hey, Ben. Pascal, how you doing?
Good, and you?
Good to see you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Thank you.
Perfect. Cool. Whereabouts in the world are you calling in from, Pascal? I know you've been doing a bit of traveling recently.
I'm in Paris right now.
You're in Paris.
France.
Nice.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Which jersey do you have behind you? Is that your?
Pardon?
You have a England jersey behind you.
I do actually. That was one of my dad's actual jersey. I think it's from. I'm not sure. Yeah, some of the old ones with the big badges. So yeah, it's quite a few years old. So I think it was a gift for me for my birthday, which is kind.
Nice.
Yeah, the guy who's much better at football than me.
Yeah.
Are you a big football fan?
I'm a pretty big football fan. Yes.
Who's your team?
Marseille is my team.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Where do you think Messi is going to go? That's the topic of the minute.
I do believe that Manchester City has fair shot. They lack a decisive player, and Messi is fast. He has already. I mean, they have the money. They have a team. They have a coach. I have a hard time envisioning Messi with Solskjaer as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Gotcha. Yeah, let's see. Big news anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's what we learned about 2020, right? Everything, the world is surprising.
Very surprising. Yeah, just I don't want to try and predict what's coming next. Just try and get to the end of December.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for joining me today. I think we wanted to do something like this for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Because I think we really tried to speak to people who are have unique perspectives on the whole no code space, and I know that you've been involved for quite a while now from an investment standpoint. Do you just want to give just a bit of an introduction to yourself, where you work, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I'm both an operator and an investor, I would say. I've been investing first personally and then through different types of funds on AngelList for the past 7 years. I've invested in 140 companies that way. Since the beginning of the year, I joined a team called Long Journey Ventures, which is an awesome crew based in the Bay Area, mostly with Brian Balfour from Reforge, Cyan Bannister, who's one of the best angel investor in the world, and Lee Jacobs and a few others. And we're investing mostly in Europe and in the US in pre-seed and seed stage companies. And so as my friend Lee has been working on putting together his group, I've helped him build the company and the fund, and also trying to help on specific topics. We all have our areas of interest, I would say. Previously, I've also founded a few companies, one of which was acquired by Nuance, and I was a very early employee and early investor at a company called Checker, which is a software background check company based in San Francisco, but I joined when we were 8 people and left when we were 400. So it was quite a ride. Yeah, I mean, we try to, at Long Journey, we try to bring our expertise to the table and help founders build long-lasting companies. And one of the things that I like personally is the no-code space. As you mentioned, I invested very, very early in Notion back in 2013.
Yeah.
After I wrote a blog post back when I had a blog called The Lego of the Web, and explaining how at the time I felt it was easy to build web apps, at least applications or fake applications, leveraging different SaaS services. And that's when I met Ivan from Notion, who at the time was building something that was, I would say, a bit more akin to a Webflow. It was, he pivoted a little bit. He was building something that was both a Webflow and what Notion is today, and he focused on what Notion is today, rightfully so.
I just found that blog post you mentioned, Lego.
Yes.
So it was from so from December 13th, 2011.
Yeah.
So you've been thinking about this space for a while.
Yes.
Put it that way. So how do you how's your opinion on the space changed or developed since 2011? And then kind of after that, what we're going to do, just for everybody here, we're going to actually dive in to a number of like no code products, startups and businesses. And then we're just going to kind of go over them and say kind of what we do like and see like, what the point of view is from Pascal in each of these.
Yeah, sure. I've been working in tech all my life, and I've never been a developer. And that has frustrated me a lot. And I've spent a lot of time on Upwork working with engineers that were that at the time I could not necessarily afford, and so it was I've lost a lot of hair, and I think that they have lost a lot of hair as well. And so it's, even though I tried to learn, I don't think I would have ever had the patience to do so. And so I've always been frustrated by that lack of ability to do. I often say that I dived into investment at some point because I had agency. I could just make a decision. It was, I needed the money, but beyond that, I could do it on my own without asking for permission. And I felt that I've always wanted to find tools that would allow me to have that agency. And I feel that now with a new breed of applications in no code, you can actually have that. And I feel very excited about that.
Nice. So talking on the subject of tools, there's obviously like a lot of them now. And we're going to dive into just a few of them in a second. But how do you, I know that you're kind of responsible for this part in like your fund, but how do you kind of, what category of no code tool are you interested in? I know that you were doing from like checker, like authentication and background checks and stuff. Is that like an area you're particularly interested in?
No, I think that initially, I invested mostly in no code tools actually before Long Journey was founded.
Okay.
I feel that I wouldn't say that there is one particular thing that I'm excited about. It's more we're looking for people that have a unique point of view or a unique product. And back when Ivan and I met, at the time it was because he was looking for a co-founder and I was looking for a co-founder. So, we realized very quickly we couldn't work together, but I also realized that he was one of the most genius product designer I've ever met in my life. And so whatever he was going to do, I was going to invest in. And we also agreed on the vision of a Lego that you pointed out in my blog post. So I feel that it's, especially today, because there's so many tools and so many platforms, it's really about what is the point of view of a founder, and also what is the open space around that software to actually be able to grow and iterate. Because no code is, if you really want to build everybody's kind of dream app with a no code tool, you need a lot of iteration. It becomes a very horizontal platform. And what I've seen over the years, and Notion, Airtable, Asana all had a very slow start. Like they iterated on the product for maybe 2, 3, 4 years before really hitting acceleration phase. It's really because it takes a long time, and so you need space. If you're in a very, very competitive space, then it becomes really hard to get to escape velocity and to be able to win. So that's always one thing that I've been focused on as an investor is, do they have time to iterate and build the best products they can?
Got it. No, it makes complete sense. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually just dive into some tools now and then have a bit of like a discussion around them. And if anybody has questions in the chat, put them in the Q&A tab or in the chat box and I can pick them up. And also if there's any tools that you'd like us to kind of bring up and mention, then pop them in there as well. And we'll see if we can bring that up at the same time. So I can just share my screen now and I can kind of dive into them. And then Pascal, you could probably comment on each one. 2 seconds. Okay, so first up, we have a tool that I think Pascal is familiar with as one of his investments, and that's Documate. So all around kind of automating documents and sending documents. So why did you invest in Documate? What did you like about it?
Yeah, so I met Dorna, the founder of Documate, back in Q4 of last year, and beyond, I mean, I really liked her. She's really a founder that you like working with. She's super smart. She knows her space, and she also is very charismatic. I mean, what I liked about Documate is basically a software for a platform for lawyers. And I don't use the word platform lightly, because actually I've met, and when I was doing reference calls with customers, she introduced me to a few firms that actually have built businesses on top of Documate. So not only were they using Documate to automate their business, but they were using Documate to sell new products to new types of customers.
Okay.
Either because they were able to sell products to, they were selling typically to enterprise customers, and they were able for like $100,000 or $50,000 a pop, and then all of a sudden they were able to sell for $5,000, $10,000 to mid-market accounts with more automated, less personalized, but still very good, I would say, service. And what I've liked about Documate was really that platform ability, the ability for lawyers who are obviously not the most tech savvy people in the world to build, to automate their business and serve a larger breed of customers, but also a little bit like Shopify for a new set of law firms to build on top of Documate.
Yep.
And I was never a big fan of, there was this Silicon Valley company that was trying to build software to replace law firms.
Right.
And I feel that Documate was trying to do that on the other side. They were not trying to do everything. They were trying to say, okay, there are some use cases that lawyers are very good at, they're experts in, and they can build on top of that and expand and go from more of a service play to more of a software play. And that market expansion that they allowed was something that I was really excited about. So that's why I invested in Documate.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because although people might look at these ones as being like an unsexy company, like people in every single business ever in the history of man has like used documents and sent documents, and we in the most part create them manually, or I've been involved in. So people like Documate alternatives like PandaDoc, etc., are doing a good job of being able to like do this dynamically, but also then integrate into the rest of their stack. So if you can kind of integrate your document automation into, say, your CRM or your sales pipeline, then it's just a dream for any like admin and sales teams. Yeah, I like all those type of tools. Next one is Userfront. So all around authentication. I haven't actually ever seen Userfront before. So do you just want to give us a bit
So
of a
Userfront is actually it's a sub product of a company that I invested called Anymod.
okay?
Anymod was initially a low code marketplace that allowed anybody to build almost segments of web applications that other people could use.
Okay.
So that, you know, even if you're doing, for example, Stripe is easy to integrate, but if you want to integrate Stripe into Node.js or whatever, you could take a mod on any mod and integrate it right away. So it was really, again, Legos, as I mentioned to you. And so they realized that the most popular application on any mod was off. And so they actually focused their product on that. And really targeting, you know, the developers, freelance developers, web agencies, but also, you know, more traditional startups. And what I like about their point of view is that they were focused on not only the most sexy Silicon Valley projects, but also on the fact that you have tons of people, again, on Upwork or Fiverr who are building applications for companies or small businesses, or, you know, small, you know, internet businesses, I would say. Yeah. And they need tools, and they don't have, I mean, they're operating on shoestring budgets with people that are not paying them much. And so if they can go faster, that's an amazing thing for everybody. It's amazing for the company, and it's amazing for the developers. So I like the fact that they knew who their customer were, and they were very focused on the fact that they had a point of view in terms of who what the developer market was heading towards, which I think was unique and a bit less snobbish than a typical Silicon Valley play. I mean, even though actually some of our early customers are Silicon Valley companies.
Got it. So one of the other no-code sort of user management membership tools that a lot of projects use in the no-code side is MemberStack, for instance, and MemberSpace.
Yeah.
So if you're familiar with them, how would you say they compare? So would this be, say, like the low-code solution, and MemberStack kind of be the more like no-code leaning solution?
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think it's and again, I think that when you think about the market, you have to think there are, you know, the development market today is so large, that you need to go after a very specific tier of developers, and you can create large companies based on that tier alone. And I feel that, I mean, obviously no code creates more opening. I could use MemberStack, whereas I couldn't use Userfront as easily. But Userfront, I mean, there are millions and tens of millions of developers everywhere in the world that are building applications every day. Auth is one of the first things that they have to put together. If they're all using Userfront, then there is a big business right there.
Like it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of things like this because it's still really awkward. I know there's like several companies, and then like you mentioned, I think with what we've seen with like no code platforms is they're trying to build every possible piece of functionality, whereas if they just really focus down like a core user group to start with and really like nailed that down, then they'd just be able to like, I don't know, just like focus efforts better, because there's no doubt that developers, being incredible as they are, they can build out all the functionality in the world, but it's easy to kind of get carried away and then kind of split your efforts too far. So, okay, next one, Adalo, one of my favorites.
I mean, and I owe that one to you, Tom, I must say.
Oh, nice.
When we met at the No Code conference back in October or November, I remember I asked you, we met and I asked you which app do you feel is easiest for me to learn? And you mentioned Adalo, and so I saw they were doing a demo on the side, and I was impressed by what you could build with it. And so I chased down the founders, and I almost forced them to take my investment. And it took me a while, but they eventually accepted, and I'm glad that they did. I mean, Adalo for me, I mean, I think it was, I mean, today I'm very, very biased. So, you know, and that's not what I was thinking back when I invested in them. Mm-hmm. But what I liked about them was a few things. First of all, I felt, and you mentioned that, you know, to me, you were one of the specialists of the no-code tools because of your position at MakerPad and your unique point of view there. And the fact that you were telling me at the time that it was very easy and very pleasant to use was a big, you know, testament in my mind that there was something there. And then I looked at what they were building, how it was looking. I started using myself. I asked a few friends of mine to play with it, and they were really impressed by the breadth of what they could do. Mm-hmm. The fact that they were focused, that they were both on mobile and web, but really strong on mobile, and that there were no real strong contenders on the mobile space. Again, as I mentioned to you, I like when there's a little bit more room for people to play. That is something that I really liked. I mean, to be honest with you, I when I saw Glide at a YC demo day, like 9 months prior, I was really impressed, and I tried to invest, and they didn't. I mean, the round was already called for. Mm-hmm. But Adalo, I really liked the fact that I could see that platform and the vision that they had around it, and the component marketplace is basically one of the proof of the pudding, almost akin to a Shopify for at least mobile apps, and if not in the future, hopefully, you know, mobile and web apps. Yeah. Where if you're like me and you don't know how to code, you can build any types of businesses, and some companies will build maybe massive businesses as Adalo scales and allow these massive companies to be built. And others will create, you know, what VC call lifestyle businesses, but which are fine companies, you know, small businesses, allowing 1 to 5, 10, 20 people to make a very good living anywhere in the world. And that's what you want in a way as an investor. You want to invest. I love investing in companies on top of which other businesses can be built. Yeah. And Adalo felt that way from the start. And, you know, one of the things that I told you at the time, I think, was that one of my projects was to travel with my family and build and learn no code with my elder daughter, which we did. And we built really cool apps on Adalo, both clones like the ones that you and another French no-code school, Otto, did, but also we built our own app for a client that we found through 100 days of no-code. So, you know, I mean, the fact that, you know, my 11-year-old daughter who has never built, she's not in the web world, I would say, like me, and she has never built a web product before, or a mobile product for that matter. Yeah. And I were able to do that was really amazingly powerful. And this notion of empowerment that they mentioned is something that I felt as a user. So, I mean, I remove my excited user hat, and as an investor, again, you want to bet in companies that think big, that have space, mm-hmm. That have some product and community momentum. Obviously, the product launch that they had initially was a good testament for that. Your excitement about it, the excitement of the people that I saw at the No Code conference, and the fact that there was nobody really, if you wanted to build a native mobile app, that sealed the deal for me.
Nice. Yeah, I completely agree. Like, just to emphasize what you said, last year, I think Adalo is incredible. And I always like just the way that these apps kind of set like their like pricing tier, because you can just get on and just build and play around and like, see what's possible, and then just kind of get the ideas firing before you even have to kind of take on like a paid plan. So you can run through like 5 or 6 different apps and just get used to building, and then you can kind of kick it up once you're ready to go. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I like that, and yeah, glad you managed to invest in the guys. They're a great team, and yeah, just continuously rolling out like new features and new component marketplace, etc. Is going to be a big hit. So people can now just start building on top of Adalo, and yeah, the sky's the limit for them. So yeah, I'm
I
really
mean,
happy.
one of the things that you know, if you when we went to a no code conference, one thing was striking to me as a conference, like more of a geeky conference in San Francisco, was that the crowd there was much more diverse than what you typically see in a tech conference. It was not a marketing conference. It was not an HR conference. It was a very tech conference, and you had a very large population. The percentage of a population there was women, people of color, and I feel that's what I like the most about tools like Adalo. If you didn't learn how to code in college, because in my case, in my age, it was not what cool kids did, or because nobody told you that you would be capable of. Now you have tools that allow you to do that. That's why I believe in no code in general, and I feel that the more applications allow a new breed of entrepreneurs to emerge and build apps, the more you'll have diverse companies or internet businesses, which are great.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's one of the great bits about my job, just seeing like how many awesome products are built on top of these platforms. And just by kind of like highlighting which ones to use for what idea, you can just kind of like spark that thing in someone's head and they go on and just build incredible things. And there's people out in the community who are like much better at using each individual tool than me. And they just take it and they just embed all the time needed to build something awesome, and then just roll out these incredible businesses and apps like in incredible pace. So yeah,
Yeah,
feels like Adalo just like empowers so many people to do cool stuff.
yeah.
So next up, we've got a bit of a different one. I'm kind of logged into my Notion, but let me try and talk about. Can we talk about Notion? Let me just bring it up in incognito. There we go. Yeah, let's talk about Notion quickly because it's a bit of a different one. Maybe not like a, I don't know, debated whether it's like a no-code tool or not. What do you think?
I mean, I think that themselves, they have debate internally whether they should be in that category or not. I feel that it is in some way because you can really build small internal applications
Yep.
with Notion. I mean, it runs on top of a database. People are using it for all sorts of things, even to build websites, personal websites, small CRM. So this is almost the meta Lego. Like they give you all
Yeah.
the building blocks, and
Sure.
then you can build whatever you want. Mostly for internal facing things, but still, it's and what I like about it, I mean, when I invested back in 2013, so it's been a long while. As I told you, at the time, it was mostly an investment on Ivan, and he's, as I said, he's product genius.
Mhm.
That was, I mean, I've maybe talked to him 5, 6 times before even he showed me Notion as a company. But he was already kind of tinkering on some aspect of it. Um, and I feel that I mean, so it was really like a founder investment. I didn't know what the product was.
Got
I
it.
mean, the idea was around was much closer, I would say, to a Webflow than it is to, or even maybe to a Bubble. than it was to what Notion is. Because he had these two sides. He wanted to replace Google Doc because he felt that Google Doc was built for more of was putting an offline paradigm, which is Excel and Word document online, and that people would move to web pages. That was his vision, and that's something that he had back in 2013, which was really unique as a point of view at the time. But initially, he also wanted to solve the fact that all his friends wanted him to build a website for them, and he didn't want to do that. And so Notion was supposed to be that for both sides, and so he iterated. I mean, it's documented in many places, including the Figma blog, how it took him and his co-founder a long time to find their stride, but they did, and then it took off. So so in this case, that's really an investment on a team and on amazing attention to details, which is how Notion is today. It's not because I had this vision, and I shared with him the vision about this enablement and the Lego vision, but frankly, it's all had to him and to his team to have built such an amazing company.
Yeah, I think so. Just while we're carrying on, is any Notion users here? I know we've got a couple of good questions from Toby, and it's also like a point which I've been bringing up for a while, which is to do with like the Notion API. So there's kind of two comparisons here, and I think the main comparison to Notion would be Coda, which is kind of, I think Notion was it's like clear winner for a long time, but then kind of obviously just taking like slightly different routes. And I know that one, like Coda's prioritized like automation, API access, and I know that's coming with Notion. So I was just interested to see like what's your take on
I mean, Notion has built a company. I think that the difference between the two is not necessarily a product difference as much as it is a company building difference. Coda founder is a very experienced founder. He has built a company before, and he has raised funding, across multiple stages in a much more traditional way. Notion, in a way, in many ways, the round in 2013 was pretty hot. I mean, they had first round and Felicis and Ram Shriram, who was one of the first investors in Google early on. So it was kind of a hot round. And then for 2 or 3 years, nobody knew if they were dead or not. And Ivan mentioned that again in the Figma blog post, where it was a struggle. They were struggling. They didn't know. They weren't sure what they were building. And then when they hit escape velocity in 2000, they were saved by a few of their investors in 2016. And when they found a product, escape velocity in 2017, 2018, they were super lean and able to grow very quickly. And I feel that as a consequence, they decided to be kind of no VC, take a no VC route, which I liked in the sense that it didn't bloat them early on. But at some point, you also need to build the infrastructure. And last time I checked, they were still a team of 50 people running a very meaningful business from a revenue standpoint, with many important customers relying on them. And so at some point, you have to pay a price for it. You have to build processes. You have to hire the great team, both on the sales side, the product side, the engineering side. And it takes time. And so I feel that it's really the reason why they have been a bit slower. there. But again, with the big round that they raised during the COVID, I feel that now they have the visibility to make up for some of these mistakes.
Got it. And do you have any unique information you could share on the Notion API?
No, but I do know that they hired Cristina Cordova as their head of partnership, and where she comes from Stripe. And I don't think that she joined Notion just to have a nice drawing of her. She's a rock star, and she joined Notion because she's going to have the tools to be able to do what she does best, which is API partnerships.
Yeah.
And so we have to be patient, but I
think a lot of people are looking forward to it. And also it's probably one of those things where it's pretty a complicated API to actually build because of the stage that Notion's at and the functionality it's got. So I don't under no illusions that it's going to be a tough job.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. So let's look at some other tools. These are kind of tools you may be less familiar with, I think. First one, we did a workshop with this tool a couple of days ago on Monday called Causal. So this is about like replacing your spreadsheet and actually just turning them into something meaningful. So using it for like financial planning, forecasting, runways, just like really advanced modeling, but just using natural language to query any existing kind of data sets and work off that. What do you think about something like Causal?
I mean, I actually liked it a lot. I mean, I wish we had seen it, frankly.
We should probably start selling a tip sheet, shouldn't we?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, Excel is the no-code platform of all no-code platforms. It has, people have been using it for millions of use cases for ages, I would say. Mm-hmm. And so before people were building model in Excel and then importing that into PowerPoint to show something to their managers. And you had lots of people whose job was to take data from Excel, put it to a nice PowerPoint and send it to their managers. And I feel that Causal is a great way for these things to be happening all in one place so that the managers can check the things that they want and have the stories around different types of information, and also do scenario analysis very easily. And so that seems interesting because it goes after both a broad enough range of use cases, but significant enough that if people adopt, they can really adopt it. It goes after people who are doing that all day long in a much more simpler way than a Looker or some of these more complicated data analytics platform. And you can do some really cool modeling that I saw. So, I mean, from my standpoint as an investor, the product seems really appealing. I need to meet the founders. I would need to understand better how their customers are using, what's their go-to-market motion. But, this is kind of a typical bottom-up sales motion where maybe a smart analyst who's smart enough to know where to put his effort will find that and start using it, and then show him to his manager in the finance team. And then all of a sudden you have the whole finance team of a startup using it, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so we actually we've got 3 sessions with Causal. We did our first one on Monday, and the replay's up for MakerPad Pro members, and we have 2 more coming up. Not this coming Monday, but the following Monday, and then 2 weeks after that. So we're actually diving into how you can use Causal as a venture capitalist actually in the next session. So that might be extremely relevant. But yeah, the Tamer's a great guy. He's got incredible products, and I know everyone really liked it on the first session. So yeah, glad you like the look of it. I think it's something that's going to be extremely useful to a lot of people and industries.
Yeah.
Next one, slightly different, which is kind of exploring the tools which kind of sit on top of existing no-code tools. This is kind of like a meta no-code tool for no-code tools. So,
Yeah.
and one of the most popular tools is obviously Airtable.
Airtable, yeah.
So the staple no-code tool for however many customers now. And Pory is a tool which is basically another layer on top of it, which enables you to build a web app like extremely easily, or a website extremely easily, just by adding the Pory layer on top. So using Airtable as your base and as your directory, you just add connect Pory to it. They provide the template, and then you've got your app. What do you think of apps like this?
So I feel that a few things about this one, and actually we're going to talk about Super later, which in my mind fits in a little bit in the same category.
Yep.
I mean, the product looks really sleek, and it's true that for Airtable, and it's also true a little bit for Notion, people are using it more and more as a CMS for different things. So using it to power apps seems like a cool and powerful idea. My worry as a venture investor for Pory is a little bit the same as it was Super, in the sense that I'm asking myself, can they go all the way? If they're successful, they're relying on Airtable, and obviously they will make a great Airtable acquisition, because I feel that it's really an extension of the capability of Airtable. And as such, it feels to me that the odds that they can go all the way, based on what I see, is low. It doesn't make that a bad investment necessarily, because I mean, they could be acquired for a nice multiple, but at least for a long journey, since the mandate of a fund is to find kind of home runs, then it would be a little bit harder to fund.
Got it.
That being said, again, I haven't talked to a founder, and I haven't seen what their vision is. So maybe this is just like a version 0.1,
yeah,
and not version 1.0. So you have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I would say that in general, with that kind of company, I would be worried of the fact that they would be too dependent on one platform, and then being a prime acquisition target for that platform. But it's true that if they want to do also Notion and Google Sheets, then on all of that, you have a pretty cool base of companies, and you can be more of a Switzerland, more neutral. And then it becomes more of a, how do you differentiate against Stacker that we're going to see next, and Super that we're going to see next, and Glide that exists today, and a few others. And so then it becomes more of a deeper dive with a founder on understanding how they see the world and how it's different from how others are seeing the world.
Yeah,
but it's a sleek product.
Yeah, it's a great product. I think, yeah, the quicker they can kind of get away from like just building on top of Airtable, I think is a good thing. Obviously, but I also think there is a slight risk with these platforms is that would it be worth kind of investing in the platform itself, or taking that money you invest and just have a team of developers spin up like your own kind of version? And I think you do see like copycats of different different products kind of like springing up, and also there's like feature creep on different products. So if one product sees that another product is like doing a good job at a certain thing, they'll like kind of like creep into their zone. So let's say someone's building a layer on top of Google Sheets, but focusing on like web apps instead of mobile apps like Glide are. Like, what would stop Glide, who obviously you've got like funding to just like put effort into like moving across and grabbing that share from them? So
Yeah. Which goes back to what I was telling you earlier. I love when companies have room
yeah,
on their side so that it doesn't take like almost like a miraculous execution to win.
got it.
One of these companies will probably be a massive company,
Yeah,
but they need to be amazing at execution. They can't make any mistakes. In a way, Notion made mistakes. They don't have a API, and yet they were able to. I think that they'll be able to go past, like to repair that mistakes and go past that because they had headroom. But if Pory and Super and Stacker and Glide like all go as fast as they can, and they like, what are the mistakes that they can make? This is my biggest concern.
yeah. So Stacker is obviously slightly different. They work off of like Airtable as well.
Yeah, and Google Sheets.
And Google Sheets.
Yeah.
So we actually use Stacker for a use case where we need to share information between different locations. They need to share like networking information, but it needed to be permissioned with like managers and employees, etc. Then we need to permission an Airtable base. So the Airtable base made it really easy to share data and just to compile it into one place rather than sending spreadsheets around, and then Stacker out of that layer with permissions, which was really useful. Sorry, I've just noticed in chat, Pascal, if you send your reply to all panelists and attendees, you might have to just change that tab just in answer to Toby's question.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know why this Zoom sets it to just panelists by default for some weird reason. So yeah, Stacker's great. We were kind of big fans for a while now. Like the customization options they brought and user permissions, I think worked really well as as a solution. Have you spent any time looking at Stacker?
I haven't. I think that I've discovered them maybe like a month ago. What I like about Stacker and tools like it, or even Glide at the beginning, was that they're working more with a enterprise or B2B use case.
Yeah.
And they're working out of existing database. So people have an Airtable or Google Sheet database, and then they're building something on top of that. And so I think that there's a lot of room to create great companies there, because at the end of the day, who was before that, what were people doing? In big companies, they were using SIs and asking them to build these custom views for different members of different stakeholders around them, right? And I feel that Stacker or Glide or others or Zapier, also in that category, they all try to replace that work that was done by SIs for small projects. And I feel that it's a big market. Nobody likes doing it on both sides. The SIs don't love it because these are small projects, and the companies don't like it because the SI projects are very expensive. And so I think that from a market opportunity standpoint, it's pretty big.
Yeah. Got it. Well, just looking through their feeds of like updates and everything, seems like they're shipping features really quickly. So just scrolling through August 14th, there's tons of records. Like August 12th, there's loads of records. So yeah, it's a good product. They're moving pretty quickly, pushing stuff out.
Yeah.
So you've got 10 minutes left. Let's just buzz through the last ones. And if there's any other questions you've got for Pascal, and fire them in the chat. The next one is Super, which you mentioned a couple of times, which adds a layer on top of Notion.
So for me, I mean, Super is really cool. I saw them when they launched. I think it was during the confinement. I was really excited about them. I said that, I mean, I would be a customer of it. Again, for me, it's very platform dependent, which is always makes me worried as an investor. I do think that they can build a great business, which is great. I mean, you know, if we're making a 5 million a year SaaS company, you know, it's just amazing. So I feel it's a really cool company, and but I'm not sure it's venture scale from what I'm seeing. Doesn't mean that it can't be. You know, Toby mentioned maybe Notion buys them. I mean, that's what a lot of people were saying. I remember when we launched, and I mean, it's clearly a possibility.
Yeah. Do you think for something like Super or Pory, it's kind of a sale? It would be kind of the end goal. Is it sale or bust? Do you think, or not really?
No. I mean, I think that Super can build a very profitable, nice business for its founders.
Yeah.
Where they can make a lot of money on their, you know, for themselves. So, I mean, many VCs poo-poo these things and call them lifestyle businesses. I call them a basic businesses. I mean, they're not lifestyle; they're just amazing.
Yeah, they're great, absolutely. Yeah, and if you can run it with a really small team, which is just a couple of you or a handful of you, then
and you can, and then as you get a lot of cash flow from your company, you can decide to do whatever you want with it. You can build other products, you can retire, you can save, you can change the world in many different ways. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's pretty cool.
Nice. So let's just do Ben just had a request here. So he's mentioned Retool and Honeycomb AWS. Let's just get those done, just so we fit them in within the hour mark. So Retool, have you had any exposure to Retool at all?
Yeah. I have a friend of mine who joined them as one of their lead engineer.
Nice. We spent some time looking at Retool. I think, it probably sits on the more kind of low code side. They do have
local side.
We kind of like explored this option. It's you can probably use about 20% of the functionality if you're like a no code builder, but really, this is kind of in the sweet spot for the low code side and utilizing existing like company databases and building internal tools like really quickly, so you don't have to lean on your engineers. So I'm a big fan. We probably don't have any use cases for it at the minute, just because how like our data is structured in the way we've built. But I'm a big fan.
But I mean, I feel that Retool in many ways is really amazing for larger companies. And when you look at their customer base that they're showcasing, these are not startups. These are 1,000 people plus companies. It's clearly a product that is very tech. And it's really a good way to basically leverage for your engineers for things that really matters, and not do these internal tools that nobody, both on the product and engineering side, ever wants to do. So I think it's a good use of not only resources but also engineer motivation.
Yep, absolutely. And the final one we can touch on the other two, but the other one he mentioned was Honeycomb, so Amazon's venture into this space. Seems like a bit of it seems primitive, and then although if there's people who are well versed in the no code tool space, they'll look at it and say, okay, the UI seems like dated, etc. But I think people kind of underestimate the innovation that sits kind of within enterprise. And Amazon clearly know their customers. And even though this seems compared to other more visually appealing tools, that this still could be like a giant step up for a large portion of their customers.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon has shown. I mean, they have with AWS, they have an amazing distribution platform. I think that if I look at Honeycomb on the one hand, and maybe something like Adalo, for example, on the other hand, since we've talked about both, I feel that Honeycomb is really going top down, like appealing to companies, people that are already using AWS and allowing more people to use AWS in a way, which is what they should do strategically. It makes sense. But would I or my daughter, for that matter, ever use Honeycomb out of the gate? I don't think so, just because it feels foreign to us in many ways. We're not living and breathing in AWS. And so Adalo appeals more to that demographic. And so, but it's also true that companies and large companies have lots of employees that are that need to build applications, and a Honeycomb code is really tailored, at least going after them. And so for me, Honeycomb is more of a competitor to a Glide, for example, or a Pory. Maybe especially Glide, actually, because Pory has more of a fancy UI component, where Glide is less focused on that. And so yeah, it's definitely going into that direction.
Got it. So final two, we've got 3 minutes. Nice. Okay, so Circle, this is a tool which we love and we use at MakerPad, and it kind of has landed on a bit of a crest of a wave in community building, and was something which I think a lot of people didn't know they needed until it existed. So I don't know if you spent any time looking at Circle.
I've been in the MakerPad community. I mean, in a nutshell, I think Circle is an amazing opportunity, both because of timing and also because of the quality of their products. So I'm not sure I would consider that fully no code, in the sense that for me it's more of a community builder per se. But it's very versatile, and they can go after both, creative, which is what they feature, but they could go after schools and soccer groups and all that stuff, and so their market opportunity is really large. So I mean, obviously, Circle, amazing opportunity.
Absolutely.
As an investor.
Yep, it's a good one. And finally, Voiceflow. So a bit of a sector change, but actually visually building voice applications for Google and Alexa devices. I don't know if you've looked at this or used it before, but yeah, obviously voice is one of these things which is kind of bubbling under the surface still.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny because I started the first company I founded was a company called Virtuos, which was a chatbot company.
Okay.
And the co-founders, they were bought by Nuance, which is a voice kind of company, and they wanted to build something like Voiceflow for enterprise, and that was the idea of the acquisition back in 2013. So I know that space pretty well. I feel that the big question I would have as an investor, if I were in front of a Voiceflow founder, is really understanding who is their target customer. With AI, which Facebook acquired, was also a company that I invested in because my co-founders from Virtuos built that one. They launched and they had lots of initial traction. The key is really, can you build sustainable businesses on top of Voiceflow? It seems like it because they have lots of conversation on Alexa and Google Assistant. So for me, the thing is that I don't know how used are these voice apps. I feel that if you could, I mean, they mentioned IVR in their flow, and it seems to me that that's really where the biggest opportunity is.
Yeah.
Because that's where the dollars are today, and then Alexa, Amazon, and others might be opportunities, but it's a bit more debatable. I'm actually surprised that so many conversations are happening yearly through them, because it feels to me that Alexa, for example, has tons of skills, but very few are widely used. If it's used by Amazon, obviously it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they've got a good team over there as well. I know Broden, the founder, is great, and the product is incredible. The actual interface and how they build, how you actually build within Voiceflow itself, and they have like a live collaboration element, so you can have multiple team members co-building at the same time, which I think needs to come in more with different no-code platforms. I think that's going to be incredible as like pulling from like pair programming worlds, or even like remote programming where you kind of pairing together on projects. So they've kind of broke good ground on that. So yeah, big fan of that also. Yeah, Pascal, we've kind of whizzed through an hour, and we probably carry on speaking through countless other no-code tools as well. But I think that was great.
We can do it again. We can happy to do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's make it. We can make it a bit of a regular thing. So I know a lot of people are interested in the insights as well. But yeah, thanks for coming. We have obviously the Causal workshop, which might be extremely relevant, and you may have some kind of unique use cases which we can explore at that. So if you've got anything that we should probably dive into on that workshop, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Good questions and mentions as well. And yeah, we'll see you all soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Pascal.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.